Greetings and welcome back, everyone. This is Into the Nexus, the podcast all about Heroes of the Storm. I don't know why I said it like that, but I am Garrett Weinzierl, here as always with Kyle Fergusson.
Hey, consistency, right?
Hey,
that's what matters in this business.
Yeah, man, you just got to stick with it. You start doing something weird that you haven't done before, you just got to commit.
You made a choice?
Or call attention
It's
to
a lot
it.
like playing Hogger. You don't know where it's going to take you necessarily, and you're not going to stop pressing the button.
Add into that, your team will not question you for fear of looking silly. It's going to be like, he must know what he's doing. Oh, he
is Hogger after all. I've heard that's broken.
Yeah, I heard Hogger. I heard Hogger is broken. I read a Reddit.
Busted.
I read, is Hogger busted? Yellow font, black background, making a shocked face.
Yes.
You know, you got to do it. You make the face where it looks like any sort of phallic object could be photoshopped in and it would make sense. Almost as if you're tempting the internet. Come along, buddy. Let's do it. Deface me.
Where do we go from this?
We don't, man. We don't. But
Okay.
We're back. We're here. We're talking Heroes of the Storm. We've got some good news this week. We got some sad news this week. And we've got some no news this week. Because we're still waiting on the damn BlizzcOnline schedule. Still not out. We are T-minus 2 weeks from BlizzcOnline. So, Kyle, they are just perfectly recreating the regular BlizzCon experience of not knowing what the hell is about to happen.
Yes. We know it's going to be pre-recorded from all words we're hearing, so there should be a schedule, right? But hey, then again, what does it matter anyway? They're going to play some videos in a certain order, probably lead with important things. We have an art image that we can read into, which is actually fascinating in a number of ways. Deathwing is our representation for Heroes of the Storm in his Dark Nexus form.
I mean, technically, Raynor could also be our representation. Illidan could be our representation. D.Va could be our representation. But
yeah, it's happy Illidan, so I don't count that one.
And he's shuffling Hearthstone cards.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, personally, I'd like to read into this, and all of it's just Heroes of the Storm. So Lilith and a Bolvar skin confirmed for Heroes of the Storm. D.Va, nothing special. Illidan's going to get a Hearthstone skin variant. Going to look exactly the same, by the way. The only difference is he will, every once in a while, shuffle Hearthstone cards. Nothing.
He could hold them like fanned out Gambit style instead of his blades and be giving you paper cuts.
Oh, that would work. You could do that.
Now that is the more general. For the more specific audience, that might be, the one I'm particularly targeting. It'd be a Yu-Gi-Oh! Dual disc.
Okay. All right. I like the other one more, though, the general one. But as long as at the very beginning of the game, as an animation, he casts Skull of Gul'dan, which is a stupid card I hate in Hearthstone because it draws too many cards and makes them cost too little. But he casts that.
Perfect.
He casts that, and then all the cards fan out, and are drawn and make the magical paper blades that you're describing.
Sure. Perfect.
I want that. Well, sick. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about AZ Jackson today. So we've got quite the show. For you today. But before we get into all of that, we want to thank those of you who are supporting us. So if you're over there at patreon.com/ITN, we mention it every episode. Thank you. Thank you very much for supporting Kyle and myself here. Independent show, as I've been joking for a bit now. It may surprise you to know Blizzard doesn't pay us for this. You do. So thank you for doing so. Go check it out. Patreon.com/ITN. Get yourself access to the ad-free feed when we have ads on the show, the Discord sign-ups for our monthly game nights, all kinds of wonderful little perks, and even more wonderful people over there. So go check it out. And to our most recent patrons, Read or Ride and Kevin Goldfarb. Thank you both very much for signing up.
Read or Ride.
Read or Ride. My favorite misquoted Fast and the Furious quote.
Well, they had that big push at the library for the movie.
Yeah, that Reading Rainbow crossover film. Actually, one of my more favorite ones.
I'd watch that.
Well, Tokyo Drifting through the library.
I actually have a confession. I always found Reading Rainbow boring.
I did too, man. I'm actually right there with you. I didn't start reading of my own accord until my early 20s. It was always a thing that was forced upon me by school, and I hated it. Oddly enough, The Hunger Games of all things was the first series I was just like, I'll give it a shot. Couldn't put it down. I couldn't put the damn thing down.
You never once had like an Animorphs or Harry Potter journey or anything like that?
You know, the movies for Harry Potter came out. I read the first book. I'm like, the movie is exactly the same. I see no reason to continue. And that will, every time I admit that, I get at least 8 ats on Twitter of people being like, you fool! The first one is the only faithful adaptation. But yeah. No, I read a little Goosebumps. You know, I was more of a comic kid. I liked my extended universe comics for things like Alien versus Predator and whatnot. That was my jam growing up. That was my jam. But you know what else is my jam? Heroes of the Storm, and we got some of it to talk about. So let's do it.
We're on, boys! Ha ha! Let's liven up this place!
Point me to the stage.
Stay a while and listen.
So yeah, we got our BlizzConline preview, Deathwing and his Dark Nexus glory roaring in the background with some nice atmospheric perspective, I might add, Kyle.
It's blue.
Also golden. There's a lot of golden sunshine and clouds. So, you know, whatever color your sky is, you got to incorporate that into your giant figure to make it look big.
Well, and there's no birds either. So really, I mean, they're going all out here to make sure.
What are you doing for scale? I guess Diva, because Diva looks tiny.
It's got to get done. Maybe they didn't have a bird brush. Listen, this is interesting because our next event traditionally might be Dark Nexus. So I'm thinking that's coming back.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't mind it. It's a popular one. It's a good one.
Yeah. Villains, crazy colors, crystal things. Let's see. The first one was in May 2018. Behold the power of the Dark Nexus, and April 2020 with fragments of the Dark Nexus.
Gotcha. Okay. So not exactly right around the corner.
It would make sense that it might be March, April, May. So we're moving up. We're moving up over the years. So we could have it in March.
Yep. Now, also with BlizzConline, so we talked about the art. We're speculating a little bit. So we're a little gun shy here in Heroes of the Stormland. I think we all breathed a collective sigh of relief by seeing that Heroes was still represented in the key art for BlizzCon. I don't know about you, but there's a little fear.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
In the back of my mind, yeah, that maybe this will be the year where they're just like, Heroes, yeah, we're good.
Well, there's this thing floating around called Overwatch 2, which hasn't had any noise about it. Diablo Immortal's getting like beta tested on streams. I've seen some YouTube videos. There's of course Diablo sitting there right in the middle, so we know that's going to happen. And there's definitely unannounced projects, which we have no idea about. So it would make sense, even in like a vacuum, that with the constant updates to Hearthstone and World of Warcraft, that Heroes would take a backseat alongside something like StarCraft.
Yeah. I mean, well, that has happened for StarCraft, right? Like I think that's the fear that's lurking for me for Heroes is like all the public opinion of it being a dead game. We know it's far from. But you go look at what happened with StarCraft, and it's like, okay, yeah, it's done for now. It has reached the end of its regularly updated cycle.
Which isn't any of the drama.
No, the drama is about a mount. The drama is about fat loot you need to buy.
Well, okay. I mean, this isn't unheard of. It is a company after all. And it is, of course, it's always a little weird, celebrate BlizzCon and all of our community by buying something from us. But yeah, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? But the real drama came because the mount that is coming for Heroes of the Storm in this particular pack is for Tracer only. Now, it's been data mined that this bike for Tracer is the same bike that's in the Overwatch 2 cinematic that we saw last year? 2 years ago? Oh, has it been that long?
Dude, Overwatch is so far from my mind.
But if she were to sit on it normally, she would have her hands floating in the air. And there's also been some data mined, like animation sprites or whatever the heck they call them, lines of code. I don't know if they see it like the Matrix or not, but people know that she's going to be bending with her knees. You know, she's really going to be leaning into those turns on this bike.
A popular term for a bike that you would sit on in this fashion is a crotch rocket, Kyle.
Yes, it is. So a crotch rocket is what Tracer's getting. And if we're talking marketing, like, what are you going to do? Tracer, Overwatch 2, it makes sense. People are upset that at this phase of development, when people are waiting for things for every hero, that there would be an exclusive mount for a certain hero in the bundle, no less.
Yeah, I have an unpopular opinion about this.
Okay.
And I'm going to lead with the bias that I'm not buying any of these. I tend to spend a lot of money on Blizzard stuff. I'm down. I'm a fan. I have disposable income. I'm happy to spend it as I see fit. Nothing in this, across all of the many Blizzard games that I play, is all that enticing. The thing I think is the coolest is the Overwatch skin, and I haven't installed it on this computer, and I've had this computer for 2 years. So
it's pretty damn awesome.
It's an awesome skin, but I don't play the game anymore. So yeah.
Is it really that different than from a exclusive mount? I mean, Overwatch is getting a skin for a single hero.
That's kind of where my mind is at. And also, like, my unpopular opinion is, like, I think this is kind of cool, and I would like more hero-specific mounts. I like hero-specific mounts. I don't think we think about them a lot, because a lot of them kind of are tied to the model of the hero, things like Zagara's wings and whatnot. But they do exist within the game, technically speaking. But like, I understand. I'm not surprised that some folks are annoyed that this is Tracer specific. But I don't know. I like it, and I'd like to see a lot more of it personally. So and also it is we are talking about a paid pack here with 3 different levels, starting at 20, going all the way up to 60, and this is available in the cheapest possible option, which also is somewhat positive to me. But again, I'm not planning on buying this.
Well, that's interesting. I didn't really note that. So you don't get Diablo 3 Wings, Snowstorm mount for World of Warcraft. You don't get the Reinhardt Legendary skin if you don't buy the cheapest one?
Correct.
Weird.
Correct. I would argue the coolest thing in the cheapest package is the Tracer mount in Heroes of the Storm. I'm also rather fond of any and all whelplings in World of Warcraft, so you also get another whelp pet, which I like. But
so people were also saying that it's real upsetting we don't get any loot boxes since they're giving them away for Overwatch, and then of course card packs for Hearthstone. But that's also tied to the more expensive collections.
That one does strike me as strange, but again, it's just like, I don't know. I guess it's a thing I don't feel particularly passionate about because I'm not being forced to purchase it.
Yeah.
It is for purchase, and I don't have to purchase it. So, and yeah, I'm kind of with Zavix in the chat room right now is saying we already get so many loot boxes. I don't think of Heroes of the Storm as a game that is stingy with its blind boxes and how often it turns them out to you.
No, certainly more than enough. I am sitting on probably 60 some boxes. I'm aware that Brew got on the Reddit and said, this makes developers cry. I'm sorry, Brew. But there's always a chance you're going to release something outside of an event and it'll be randomly in boxes. So, my bad, but
I just open them, man. I just open them. Like, if something comes along that I really have to have, and this did happen with the StarCraft event, like the StarCraft skins we got last year, like with the SCV Gazlo, and like the whole StarCraft Warcraft crossover event. Yeah, I wasn't, because I just opened my chest, so I wasn't sitting on any, and I was like, whatever. It's honestly, it had been a long time, and since I had last just thrown money at Heroes of the Storm. And I love this game. I'm happy to support it. And so that's what I did. I was just like, cool, I'm just going to go buy these skins because I really like them. So I say just rip them open, man. And at the end of it, you're going to be sitting on so much currency anyway. You can probably craft exactly what you want when it comes around.
But that's burning a hole in my pocket. You know what I mean? Like, I don't. Okay.
It's fake money. Let it burn a hole in your pocket.
Maybe, I don't know. Let's say you got a bag of pirate booty, and hypothetically, you're saving it for your son. What happens if you open that pirate booty?
I am already so lost. I'm like, is this a cultural touchstone for a lot of people? Do a lot of parents like have pirate gold that they save for their children?
It's like Cheetos. It's like I don't know, like a health store sell them.
Oh, you're talking about a snack.
Yeah, like a snack, like a delicious, like so Doritos, right?
Just say Doritos, man.
I'm talking from real life here. I've got pirate booty in the closet that if I open, it'll burn a hole in my pocket. In theory, I will want to eat all that pirate booty, but since it is currently closed, I can save it for later. Plus, humidity and stuff up here.
I was thinking like black hearts doubloons, man. Like, your mateys.
Oh no, you gotta get yourself some pirate booty, man. Get with the 21st century. It is good stuff.
Is it a chip? What is it?
Yeah, no, they're puffs. They're puffs. It's like it's like Cheetos.
Oh, okay. All right.
Like the puffy kind of Cheetos, but smaller.
I'm more of a crunchy guy myself, but all right.
That's fine. Me too. But yeah, the pirate booty does it. It's good stuff.
Chat room's having real fun with you saying you want to eat booty.
It's pirate booty.
Anyway,
named it.
Anyway, so you're like, oh, if I crack that open, eventually,
then I'll have shards burning a hole in my pocket, and I'll start buying things I don't need or want. So I like the idea that I go farming when I need to farm, which is why I don't play Stardew Valley, because I only farm when I want something.
Fair.
And Stardew Valley expects me to wake up every day and farm for no reason, in the future hopes that my future wife that I will farm with will want the thing that I farm eventually. I don't prepare like that.
There's a life lesson in there, man.
Probably.
There's a life lesson in there.
Something about squirrel saving nuts, but the cricket something or other, you know what I mean?
Well, we really got off the topic. So where's your head at on the damn tracer mount, man? Do you like it or do you not?
I don't care. I understand the frustration. I think in a magical interactive with devs world, Kyle 21 would be like, why? How could you? Just bend people over the bike. No big deal. Look, their hands are up here. So you get in there with your little dots and you go, and then you move their little hands forward. I've seen Lord of the Rings making of. I know how you do this. And it's done. But I know that's not how it works. I know the reason why people wiggle in the air when they're caught by Kael'thas, but also wiggle the same way when they're stabbed by Imperius. Animations take time.
Yes, they do. I don't know. My reaction is I just want a lot more of these, which honestly could be an answer. I think to some of the pushback is like if there were a lot more of these to offer, maybe everyone wouldn't feel so left out. But again, I'm just like, come on, it's BlizzCon merch that you don't need to buy. It's fine. It's fine.
We also know that, these things don't always overlap. Like the person who is capable of animating Tracer may not be the same person who animated Deathwing, for instance. And they were asked to make something in conjunction with another artist, and this is how they overlap. Like people, I remember years and years, and probably still going, I just don't pay attention to it anymore. People complained about World of Warcraft features and how clearly that feature existing took away an opportunity for something else to exist.
Which we know is so often not actually the case and not how the team is divvied up.
Like I could walk up to the street here, yell at the hot dog vendor because he doesn't have burritos. He can't make burritos. It's not his job to make burritos.
No. I mean, I don't think he's making hot dogs either. I think it's just he's literally heating the thing that's already made. But anyway.
Sure. There's probably a special way he pushes the cart so the oils and stuff don't splash anywhere. It takes skill.
There you go.
In some degree.
Burritos, they're just, they're...
Rolling a burrito's pretty advanced. Yeah, folding the sides. Got ratios got to be right,
As is placing Tracer on top of that crotch rocket.
Exactly.
You got to tuck in the knees.
Yeah.
You got to know what you're doing. So, I mean, would we all be happier if, I don't know, Malthael got like a hoverboard and only Malthael could ride on? Would that make us feel better?
I would say no, because that's an animation that already exists with Malthael on hoverboard things. This is unique to Tracer.
No, I mean standing awkwardly straight up and down like a human riding those hoverboards that were really popular like 5 years ago.
Oh, okay. Kind of like leaning with it, a little slouch, teenage style.
We can give Raynor like one of those one wheels. We can give one of those. We can give Greymane one of those bikes from Steampunk era with the giant front wheel and the tiny back wheel.
I only want this hoverboard, as they were called, if Deckard has a special animation where he tries to spin it in the kitchen or living room and falls on his butt.
Oh no, I feel like Deckard would be surprisingly graceful.
Yeah,
you need to pull the rug out from under us. Lucio needs to be the one that's actually surprisingly very uncoordinated.
He's got robo legs though; those might be doing calculations.
Fair, but yeah. Anyway, that's the drama this week. In case anyone's curious about how much of a drought there is right now before BlizzCon.
Well, that's the thing. There's got to be a drought so we can build up information. However, there are things happening locally at Heroes which do garnish some attention.
Yes. AZ Jackson leaving the team.
Man.
This hurt last night, man. Like, I can't remember the last time I texted you about Breaking Heroes news was HGC's cancellation. And I'm not trying to say that this is like on that level at all, but like for us personally, we've had AZ on the show multiple times and we like the dude. So we were bummed and yet also at the same time excited to hear about this news because AZ Jackson's not leaving Blizzard. He's staying at Blizzard and moving on to a new undisclosed project.
Right. So there was a roller coaster of emotions, right? And we went back to past thoughts where we knew there was a hiring for someone on the Blizzard Heroes of the Storm balance team. We went, okay. All right, well, what does that mean? They apparently hired someone within the team, which is awesome. And to me, after talking with AZ Jackson, this is not something that I feel like he would just walk away from with anybody in charge. I have a ridiculous amount of trust in his replacement. I don't know who that is, but you don't just hand your baby off to the first person that passes by.
Right. It hasn't been announced yet. And I mean, there was all sorts of bits in this statement that are eyebrow raising and interesting. I highly recommend you go read the statement in full. But I do want to read the part about the replacement because AZ Jackson wrote, quote, "I wanted to reassure you that we did hire a replacement for my position and that it was someone who I was able to personally vet because it was very important to both me and the team that the game had someone who we felt could do the job and do it well. They have been around since the beginning of the game's life and are just as passionate as I am about making Heroes the best it can be. I have faith that they will do a good job." So I'm gonna make a call here and say, AZ Jackson, you're talking up your replacement pretty good here.
How could he not? Like, AZ provided us not only with balance, but content, meta changes to an extent, but still keeping the game as it was. I'm sure he had a role in lots of the reworks as well. But when HGC got canceled, the team kind of breathed easy. They were able to do their own thing without being pressured by shareholders and esports requirements. And patch after patch after HGC, we saw these little tiny projects in the patches. Quality of life improvements sometimes. Talents becoming more interesting or overlapping with each other in interesting ways. Or just a through line of like how dazes work. For instance, I don't know if that happened in last year, but you know, like how blinds work, how all these interactions happen so they made more sense. And I see those projects going forward. And in fact, I'm really excited to see what a fresh take on that would be after all these years. Not that AZ ran out of projects. I have no doubt that, I mean, this is probably like changing DMs mid-campaign. I want to see the notebook that got passed to this new person. Dropped, like, and they're probably maybe multiple binders, not exactly organized because it's all been this passion project. And they've got to dissect all these Google Docs and come up with how they're going to continue to balance the game. But they could also have been sitting in the background wanting to change things fundamentally. We constantly heard in this last balance patch that didn't change the meta enough. And Fresh Blood can do that.
We're going to talk about it here in a second, too. And yeah, I think you and I kind of also are falling on that side of that declaration. But like, I don't know. I like, because AZ Jackson's, moving on and going to exiting Heroes of the Storm. This is like anytime, like we haven't done it a lot here. We've been through a few, but we've had the discussion of like devs we know and love, and in some cases even consider friends over on the Angry Chicken covering Hearthstone a ton of times. The amount of times I've had to go through this Song of Dance, and every time you talk about a developer of a game that you like have kind of built a personal rapport with, it starts to sound like you're eulogizing them. It's like AZ Jackson ain't dying. But as far as AZ Jackson is concerned, his relationship to this game, yeah, that's basically what's happening. And so like
he's also going to Mars.
Yeah, as we're talking about it right now, it's like I don't want to focus on like the most recent patch and how it like hasn't really shaken things up, because I think that's like doing a major disservice to like AZ Jackson's legacy in regards to Heroes of the Storm. Because dude has done some great work with the team, like under his kind of tenure on the team.
Yeah, 8 years. I know 10 years in this expression, but
Is tenure specifically 8 years?
No, you did that.
I don't know, man.
He was on the team for 8 years. And
on his watch. On AZ Jackson's watch. Yeah.
And I'm really excited about him going to Mars. I want to see what he's going to do on Mars.
I love that you're sticking with that analogy.
And he's going to be in hypersleep for that whole journey, and that's what sucks. Like, EYE's shareholders' requirements from a company perspective left Heroes, and that must have been so freeing. And this game became a passion project for the team, and they got to do what they wanted to with it, make the game more interesting and do those big reworks without, Tassadar being required in his former form. You could now upset the apple cart. So what kind of job takes a man like that? And I say it's a damn cool job, and that sucks. I have to wait to find out what it is that he's working on.
Yes, it's a position I feel like we've been in with Blizzard for a long time. You and I talk a lot outside of the show about like, when's the next thing that gets us stoked enough that we're going to make a show about it? It's been a while. I tried it with Overwatch. It ended up not really being for me. Not the type of game that keeps my interest for years, the way damn near every other Blizzard game that preceded it did. And there's, for me anyway, man, and feel free to jump in on it, whether you agree, disagree, or have your own wild Kyle version of this. Like for me, like I do kind of align myself with this like sensibility of liking what I see as an old school version of Blizzard titles. Like I very much see Overwatch as this new kind of direction. Whereas like I came in as the fan of like the shit that could have just as easily been an album cover for Iron Maiden.
Sure.
Like that's the aesthetic. Like I'm here for skulls on spikes with chains and orcs and demons and archetypes we're very familiar with. And as much as I enjoyed Overwatch at the very beginning, it's just like, yeah, not only is it like, it's a multiplayer shooter and it just kind of stays in that space. And while I enjoy those types of games, are the things that I just kind of, I visit for a while and then walk away from. On top of the fact that is like, as awesome as the art direction is in that game, like it's not like my go-to aesthetic, and so like hearing about someone from here, like the Heroes of the Storm team that I have a lot of respect for, moving on to a different project, I go, ooh, maybe Blizzard ain't done yet with the reason I came to the studio in the first place as a fan.
I'm with you there. And the fact that he went from the QA team, like big dreams being a designer, that's so badass. Talking about like in this post, he talks about crying outside the building when he got his dream job. That's amazing. And it's the whole thing with the Winnie the Pooh quote, which is also just heart-wrenching and awesome. So throwing that in there too. But
yeah,
like that's where I'm most excited is like what a man who comes up through RTS gets to work on his very first MOBA What takes a guy like that away? And it could be something completely un-RTS related. I mean, we all want to grow. Like, we all challenge ourselves to do different things. And that's why I run a D&D show now. It's very, very different than talking about video games. But it could also mean that there's something right in his wheelhouse that is so for me. And I'm damn excited about that.
Yeah. I mean, you can stay within like the themes or aesthetics that you prefer with the underpinnings of the project being wildly different and still bringing that change and that challenge that you're hoping for. It's nothing like that. It's happened with us many times when we've created new shows. It's like, yeah, I'm familiar with podcasts. I've done it before, but like, what is this new thing? How is this going to challenge? How is this going to help me learn and grow? So it's boy, I really I felt a lot of AZ Jackson's comments here. Big time. As someone who, like you and I are, 2020 was our 10th year of podcasting. I'm frankly surprised I'm still doing it.
Hey, that's, was it 5 years for most careers? Then people change. Like it's pretty intense to stick with anything over that point. Yeah.
And having just crossed like 400 over on the Angry Chicken, like I'm feeling old at the moment, Kyle. I just had my birthday. I just had 400 episodes of a podcast that kind of, for all intents and purposes, put me on the map. And boy, it's really, like, if nothing else, I just wanted to put that out here that, like, holy butts, this AZ Jackson, like, hit me right in the self-reflection psyche of, like, I'm kind of ready for what's next, and I don't know what it is.
Well, I'm going to have a certain amount of impatience here. And it's going to be a lot like so many of our development cycles. When was this made? Whose signature is on this? And the next couple bounds patches, I'm going to be watching real close because I'm curious to see what that veteran rising up has in store, what their thoughts are. We all have different opinions. We all have different passion projects. Who knows if they want to take things in a different direction? If they've been sitting in the sidelines going, man, I love Kel'Thuzad. They want to make a Kel'Thuzad meta. Who knows?
Maybe. I'm not sure I want to go through that meta. That I know you were just coming up with an example, but yeah, bring it. I will learn to survive. Well, AZ Jackson, if you're listening, thanks for all your hard work, dude. And as you and Brew have made it very clear when you come on the show, we know that there are a lot more people involved than just the outspoken personalities on the team. But you were one of those outspoken personalities, so we are very familiar with you. And we're going to miss you. So best of luck on what's next. We look forward to seeing what it is.
Yeah, I'm sure you're going to be under lock and key here, but if you ever want to come by and just kick it and talk about heroes that you're now playing at home just for funsies, we'd love to have you.
Yeah, pitch it to PR as they want me to come and talk as a player, not as a ex-developer.
Exactly. We know our boundaries. We're not going to push you on the new thing, though. We're very excited for you. Just you can stay perfectly quiet while we do a dance around you about that.
Yep. Do it. Come on by, or don't. You do you. You burned it, man. Whatever you feel like doing next. All right, Kyle. Moving on. Did you see this fan-made cinematic for Heroes of the Storm?
I did watch it, yes.
Oh, man. All right. I've been out of the fan-made content loop for a long time. I think Carbot back in the StarCraft 2 days was the last time I really, really like latched on to a fan-made creator. And damn, this is really well done. If you haven't seen it, it's titled Heroes of the Storm 3.0 fan-made cinematic. It was put together by a YouTuber by the name of Mad IT Drakes. And it's just a damn well made machinima. It uses a song from the band called the Chalk Eaters, which I vaguely remember seeing because they made a song that's about Doom crossing over with Animal Crossing.
That's right. They came out at the same time.
Yeah. And it's a great song, and it works really well here because they repurposed the song to be Lily meeting Tychus, and Tychus, showing her around the Nexus and teaching her the ways of wanton murder and destruction. And boy, does it work.
It does match our trend of heroes content getting spread about, and I'm excited to see where this new road is taking us.
Yeah. That's a my man. But yeah, if you haven't seen it, we got a link in the show notes, as well as a link to the original music video for the song that's used. It is catchy, especially if you like Animal Crossing, which I do. And it like makes a metal riff out of the Animal Crossing music, which I didn't think was possible. Here we find ourselves, Kyle.
I don't farm unless someone's going to attack me. I'm sorry. I'm getting a lot of messages about something called Dyson Sphere right now, which I'm pretty sure is a vacuum. The trailer makes no sense. And I want to know if something's going to attack me.
Oh, I've heard a lot of people talking about this as well. Oh, I haven't actually looked up what this is. Oh, dude, this looks like something you and I would both lose hours of our life to.
Oh, I'm sure. Oh,
my
I already
goodness.
cheated. I jumped ahead of Hades and I got Monster Train because I wanted something turn-based.
Yeah,
was a
you
little
mentioned
busy
that
for me.
You mentioned that last week, and I mentioned I picked up the new Assassin's Creed. I hate it. I have instant buyer's remorse.
Oh, no.
Oh my god, they ruined I haven't played since Black Flag, and I know a lot of people, according to Twitter, were like, "Dude, you're alone in this. We all hated how Assassin's Creed controlled," and I'm like, "This is the most generic, poorly made combat system I think I've ever experienced. I really, really dislike it."
Damn.
I'm mad. I want my money back. Anyways, sorry. There's our off-topic check-in with what we play when we're trying to relax, and I made a mistake. But let's talk about what we play when we're trying to win, Kyle. We haven't done it's time for that 2-week patch check-in that we so very much like to do after a balance patch. And well, it's been 2 weeks, and as we've been dusting across this episode, popular opinion is that the patch didn't really shake the meta up, and I have to say I agree. Now that we've lived with it for half a month.
Yeah, we've got some downward trends. We've got Cassie and Tychus going down about 2%. Hogger went down 5%. Gazla went down. Imperius went down. Like, the nerfs worked. The thing is, even with Diva, the current perception on these heroes that got nerfed is, well, just play better. They're still busted. Hogger's still the most powerful thing to ever exist in a MOBA. You just don't play it right.
Which I don't think is inherently a bad thing. I know, like, in general, I think the kind of saying, the meta didn't really change. It's like a quick way of saying, kind of a boring patch. But at the same time, I think reining things in to where you need to have some prowess with what's strong to keep them strong is a good thing and is a worthy goal.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, think about like how that plays out in application, right? It's just like Hogger's strong. People are playing Hogger. They're succeeding by sheer virtue of tuning. And then you go and you nerf Hogger, and he's still strong if you know what you're doing. Well, cool. That means like all of what you did learn isn't out the window, and it incentivizes you to think a little bit more, to go a little bit deeper, and and become apt with the hero.
I think that's something that can get forgotten, particularly for drafters who constantly have to think about, what am I going to do when I lose my main, or don't have mains anymore and they play everything because that's the way drafting goes. This is a game of quick match.
It's been my experience for like more than a year now in Heroes of the Storm. Like, most of my favorite heroes have stayed viable for a long time, and I like it. I realize I'm kind of, I fit into my own puzzle, right? Like, I play multiple Blizzard games regularly. So I'm splitting my time between having to understand the meta of things like Hearthstone, having to understand the meta of things like World of Warcraft, and now in Heroes of the Storm as well. But like, it's been cool because like so much of the show, you go back through the hundreds of episodes history of this, is me going, well, my main sucks. I need to go back to the drawing board, Kyle, and do some soul searching and find out what's next, because X isn't bringing it. Zagara, Tychus, Sonya for a while was off the menu. And, they came back around, sort of. Still not doing Zagara. Tychus is great now, but it's been so long. Oh, man, I am butts on Tychus right now.
He's very particular. I agree with you. It was very taxing during those HGC days. And now these incremental movements of heroes mean that if you still got the one-trick skills, you just keep on one-tricking. Nothing's stopping you. Nothing is obliterated from space. Now, of course, there are metas that come about, like I'm not playing Yrel in Storm League because Tychus is everywhere, and it's just too darn dangerous.
Yeah, the Yrel is one of the lowest trajectory heroes right now. Looking at stats, like Yrel has been kind of bottoming out.
Sure, I mean she's at 42% right now as of this patch. She's gone down 6%. Makes sense in the kind of meta we're running. There's even Deathwings running around, so there's giant killers, there's Malthaels, there's all sorts of problems that could really mess up a Yrel. But at the same time, go over to Quick Match, Yrel is flourishing. Because guess what? People who love Tychus are playing Storm League because they know they can now play Tychus there. So Yrel's getting to run rampant in Quick Match because their counters aren't being played because everyone's sick of them by the time they go play their favorite hero in Quick Match.
Yeah, that's really that's an interesting effect, right?
Look at like Zul'jin's an interesting story. After the bug got fixed, he has climbed quite a bit, 5%. And previously, we made Zul'jin in a way that shored up his other talents and weaknesses and abilities. Q was already okay. You're going to put a mark on them. You're going to do more auto attack damage. Listen, you might get blinded. You might have these other issues. Let's make sure we get some spell damage, some axes and glaives going in there, just in case. But now Zul'jin is basically a Q machine. He's going to mark you and put all the talents in the mark because it's amazing. And something like that is meta defining, is changing. And maybe because of that bug and because of maybe awareness that it didn't go away or it never existed or it just felt good, but you didn't know why, Zul'jin has seen more play.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think again, it's like that's the kind of thing I look at, and I think it brings in attraction. Players start getting on the hero and playing it because they know it's overpowered because of that bug. But in the meantime, they're also like getting good with Zul'jin. Or maybe they were at once good with Zul'jin, and it's like, riding a bike. They get back on it. It's like, oh, yeah, I remember how to play this hero. I just haven't been playing him because he hasn't been that great in the stats. And then you get rid of the bug. But it turns out, oh, yeah, no, Zul'jin fits into the meta puzzle right now. And everyone just remembered or learned how to play him again.
Well, it's an interesting story, too, because Eye of Zul'jin became really, really powerful for pursuits. So Ensnare was on its way out, which meant with no Ensnare, not many people were going Guillotine. So Eye of Zul'jin is popular. You buff the auto attack build, and that cascades into a full-blown basic attack build using Grievous Throw is the name of it.
Right. So yeah, I would, by raw stats alone, it seems like Zul'jin is just the big winner of this patch and probably the single biggest change, I think, overall. Because the other one is on upward trajectory right now is Hanzo, who's like still below that 50% win rate level over on Hot Slogs, but that's the kind of thing I look at and I go, I think this is the CCL's fault because we saw some really good Hanzo play in there.
Yeah, and Hanzo also has two very viable ults for Storm League. Of course, you're going to want that Dragon's Arrow when you're coordinated or you're just really, really good. But hey, nothing wrong with denying a massive area with some spell damage.
Or punishing Clump.
Sure. I think Hanzo has a lot going for him. He's just hard to play.
Can't stand him personally. No, not my jam.
Look at Zul'jin at like 26% popularity. That's crazy. But a lot of our meta is defined by what's lacking. And right now, it's a pretty interesting story, actually, because I don't really believe anything's lacking, but you have to know how to draft. And I don't know how to draft. I can say that, too. There are so many situations where other things could be viable. We just don't understand it to that level.
I mean, you're kind of calling into question the entire, base definition of a meta, though, right?
Perhaps.
There's a whole, I don't know, that's just kind of comes with the territory of shared knowledge, right? And popular opinion.
Well, and here's a odd side note, Zul'jin immobile, auto attackers feeling a little limited sometimes recently, which seems absurd, of course, because we went through so many years of talking about tank squish and there's the healers. There's not enough healers. My style of healing isn't in this game yet. Mm-hmm. But Sergeant Hammer's up. She's up by 6% in the win rates. Granted, 2% popularity there.
Yeah, grain of salt. There's margin for error in those numbers because it's such a low played hero. But
true. But Zul'jin rises in popularity. People, for some reason, I know the real reason, but I'm going to say for some reason, for fun, hate Raynor. And so they look for anything else that can do Raynor's job with some amount of difference, some fun, some factor that makes it more interesting for them. And I've heard multiple hammers called for in drafts this week. Do you play hammer? Anyone play hammer? We've got a hammer comp going on. We were going to do a Zul'jin comp, but it's gone.
I don't know, man. I've never had a head for hammer, but I haven't seen it yet. Hasn't trickled down to my neck of the woods.
Yeah, we've been playing in your neck of the woods, and it's raw chaos.
We've been having our own issues there, man. I think we hit our wall. I think we found where we currently naturally live, and it's time to learn again.
Yep.
Time to learn. It's time to grow. We also in our personal session this week, we also just hit a wave of the crankiest people on Earth, and we got the same cranks in every game we played.
Well, we played on a Monday.
Yep.
Midday, which I don't know if that's a factor for being grumpy.
Which Monday shouldn't be, because I mean, if you've got the freedom to play a video game in the middle of your Monday, life can't be that bad.
I mean, maybe you're trying to escape, so you're extra grumpy, right? Like your escapism isn't making you happy, so you're like doubling down on your grump. Like that's your own fault for playing a game grumpy, particularly when you can lose.
That's fair. That's fair.
But we did also ride that wave, and that's our own fault, you know? Like that's queue times a lot too. Like you sit through a 5-minute queue. The last thing you want to do is wait for someone else's 5-minute queue to pass so that you can then sit in your 5-minute queue. That's no fun.
Yeah, but neither is being a meanie.
Yeah, we should have quit 2 games earlier and just said, move on, grumpy folks.
Yeah, but I think we were both in the spiral of just keep going. We got to catch a good game.
Right, we're playing good. You playing good. I'm playing good. Can't be our fault. Let's ride this wave.
We're doing it.
Yeah, keep it rolling.
We lost to a double support Stitches. That one hurt.
Well, that was interesting. I mean, on paper, that's really interesting because Stitches never had to hook to get the gorge. He would just walk right the heck in.
Yeah, well,
because he was invincible.
What bruised my ego is, you know me, I have a certain opinion of Stitches. It's not particularly positive. And then we got the same Stitches player playing Stitches on our team the next game, and he just died. Like the whole game. And it was just like, oh, you just got lucky with 2 supports. Okay, gotcha. Good to know. We could have double supported him, Kyle. That's probably what we should have done.
We really messed up.
I should have swallowed my personal opinions and just been like, you know what? I'm going to build around the Stitches. Clearly it worked. Should have done it. My Ana stock is on the floor this week. I don't want to see an Ana in my games anymore.
No.
It's not working. Listen, plat Anas? No. No, you're not as good as you think you are.
Savage.
That's my grump. That's my grump belief of the week. So
I don't want to interrupt the show, but I guess we'll just have to say AZ Jackson's in the chat here and listen to the earlier show, please, because man, you're a badass and we love having you here. Thanks for visiting.
Yeah, if you weren't here earlier, buddy, we did a little send off for you at the beginning. But also, I mean, AZ Jackson in the chat room saying sounds like the meta is perfect, and AZ Jackson is no longer biased, so clearly the meta is perfect.
It's the truth now, right? He can finally expose the real truth that the meta is perfect. Free from his previous constraints.
Yes. It's the second you change jobs, dude. Like, all your biases, they go out the window. So if AZ Jackson says the meta is perfect, clearly it is. Sorry. Anyways.
Well, coming up next, I've got some things to share with you.
Yeah, I was about to say,
so
last week, man, you came in and you dropped some serious knowledge bombs because you've been sitting there like Jim Carrey in Batman Forever, just having Cavalier guest knowledge beam into your forehead. And yeah, that was a Batman Forever reference.
Okay, yeah, I feel it. I'm kind of arguing with the TV at the same time because I'm trying to figure out why. I'm not just taking the brainwash in. I need to know why.
You're not just absorbing it. You're also combating it.
It's interactive, right? It's interactive.
Challenging it. You're challenging it.
Yeah, so let me tell you all a little bit about the things I've learned. And this is from our Heroes Lounge team featuring Cavalier Guest, Kai Berries, Porky, soon to be Mockery, and Coffee. So lots and lots of streamers, lots and lots of personalities, coaches, and all that sort of thing. Really awesome experience. I'm getting to have over there doing off lane, some tanking, a little bit of Raynor because no one wants to play it. And I'm delighted. So first up, one of the things he said is Blaze is the strongest counter to Maiev. Always has been. Which makes me go, what?
Yeah, I also would like to add a WUT to that.
It's bunker. Because if everybody gets caught in the umbral bind, you have the time to react. And if for some reason your Maiev does one of those like swish you, get you tethered, and then teleport away, now she's all the way the heck back there. You're not so concerned about her because she just lost her engage, she lost her chase, and she's not in range to do proper knives anyway. So Maevs that are doing that may be setting up her team. It could be really dangerous, particularly if they're ahead, but ultimately they're not playing very strong.
Okay.
So
all right.
A actual strong Maiev is probably going to teleport in or walk in, get the tether, use that kind of like a Johanna Condemned to group you all up, and then start kniving the heck out of you. So you've got time to jump in the bunker, which means everybody else jumps in the bunker. And during the Warden's Cage bit, not the Warden's Cage, isn't that the Crystal? Hang on. What are the names of these talents? Maiev. What do you do out there? Oh my goodness, we have a lot of M.
I am also looking it up in the background, and
I'm going to the game.
I always forget if it's MAI or MAE, and it's MAI.
There we go. Warden's Cage. Okay, the other thing's called Containment Disc. So the Warden's Cage pops down. You're all gonna be immobile. It's all gonna be chaos. The wombo combos are flying. You jump in a bunker and hide.
So what you're saying is Maiev does anything, jump in the bunker and hide.
Exactly, particularly things that target Blaze. He's instantly into that bunker, basically, with very little room for error. He's going to avoid the situation, and then he's going to be able to pop out the other side and get some major damage done. Interesting, okay. a little isolated there. Maybe not something you'll be able to use at home.
I'm not seeing Maiev in my home games. But maybe you are.
Me neither.
It's a good thing to keep in mind.
Yeah, there's some one tricks that float around in the high diamond, but for the most part, it is an unused hero. Sometimes used as a tank in tournament play, which is pretty cool, but ultimately pretty low popularity. We're looking at 2.6 of games featuring a Maiev. So what's your Blaze at? 5.4? So hey, maybe he gets to play a little bit more and counter Maiev when she pops up. Here's the more interesting one to me anyway. The only reason I bring up that one is because it was presented as obvious. And I went, what? What do you mean? It's so obvious. Blaze counters Maiev. Why? What? So if you're going to run Mei tank, you might consider running Tank Zul, because it's basically going to do the same thing with more shot calling.
Because of the bone prison.
You got the bone prison, which is more reliable than your Blizzard icing ice wall setups.
Or so landing your Blaze charge also.
Yeah, there's something like that too,
That can
right?
very much miss.
But unrelated to that, mostly just if you're thinking about Mei, you might consider doing the Tank Zul. You got your level 1 that dodges auto attack. So you kind of have a self-blind in that way. If you're concerned about Tychuses or something like that. And Mei's Snowball actually has some travel time, a rather unique area compared to something like Johanna. You probably lost Johanna in the draft. So you're looking for something else that's going to blind. But mostly you're not going to be able to peel your backline, which Zul can't do anyway. So you're already having trouble with Mei in the first place. But Zul has the survivability, the dodge ability on those auto attacks, and ultimately a better shot call for both team fights as well, because you're going to be like, hey, zombie skeletons, frost skeletons, go. And everyone will be like, well, big cooldown was used, let's fight.
This is really exciting for me because I like playing Zul, but I don't play him a lot because I feel like he doesn't fit into a lot of the puzzles of our draft when we play together all that often. However, you and I do seem to be choking on Mei comps. And I don't know. I've been searching for some sort of Mei understanding because we keep ending up with like Mei as our tank, and those games, if we go look at our statistics, are not great. So maybe I just start locking Zul every time someone on our team grabs a Mei.
Well, that would be doubling up. I'm talking about replacing the May with Zool instead.
Oh,
You're considering
sorry.
being May.
Sorry. Okay, gotcha. Well, then I'm all for that.
So you early pick the Zool. It might go double soak. It might be tank. And you may make that choice because you were thinking, oh, well, I lost Johanna. Here's a situation where I might run May in the first place. Now, of course, this is heavily condensed information. I am taking an entire thought process that I was presented in a draft and condensing it down to a bit, a statement, a fact that possibly you can use.
It's bite-sized, though. Like, all of these, I think, is good. Like, Blaze is a strong counter to Maya of like, okay, that, what do I do with that? Why? Well, bunker. It's like, cool. Well, I can execute on that.
Right. I'm now aware of the thought process.
You can do something with that. And the same thing here. And this one, I think it applies more, at least where we're playing. We see a lot of May. We see a lot of Zool.
And we see a lot of Mays who are off in another universe, possibly tanking 4 people, but we all are squishies and have Diablo on us. And there's no way for that May to actually interact with the Diablo because he'll just charge out of the blizzard. He's too dodgy. He's too wiggly. And in that comp, if May's tanking 4, our job is to kill that Diablo as fast as possible. But May's not helping with that job. So Zool throwing a bone prison on Diablo, so he's now nice and still for everybody to target, and then running in the back with Shade included, doing some swipes on 4 people and sustaining himself for at least a time, might get the job done better.
Gotcha. What about Raynor?
Raynor's an interesting guy. So you've been talking about Drunk Misha for a while.
Yeah, the Banshee. The Banshee is Drunk Misha.
Do you go Dustwing at 20?
Yeah. If you go Banshee, it's too good.
Which is actually the reason why you go Banshee. So your Banshee, instead of thinking of it as a Misha or this damage opportunity, sucks until 20. It is a scout. It is a flying drunk scout, and it doesn't need to be any better than drunk because all it's going to do is fly over some walls and make sure you, Raynor, with nothing but a pushback and maybe a tiny bit of movement speed come 13, are going to survive. Then come 20, when you get Dustwing, increase damage, health, and leash range by 100%. When it dies, Inspire and Adrenaline Rush are activated for free. Nice caveat there. Not really necessary for this idea. That's when you say, now this Drunk Misha will go kill people.
Yeah, you can get really silly angles because you can get this you can take this so far away from yourself at a safe distance where it's not going to get, hell, even like part of the problem is that just like it's so easy for it to start getting smacked by lane minions because of the initial leash range. So when you increase that by 100%, which is exactly what Dustwing does, you can really keep it off at the sidelines and bring it in out of seemingly nowhere for the whoever your kill target is. Also, just I needed this real knowledge. Annoying. Real annoying.
I needed this because I hit level 10 and I'm like, I've got Hyperion, which is going to be loud, bombastic, call a team fight, do some siege damage. I'll drop it on cooldown like Nazebo on a wall. Why not? Or I can feel like I have a useless attachment. So I need this information to basically say, okay, I now have a scout and I'm going to use this to reach a overall 8% higher win rate come level 20.
Okay. Well, that's good. I mean, I always just thought of it as good. I never thought about it as that good. But I did just think of it as like I did have this thought in the back of my mind that, oh, thank God I'm at 20. My Banshee is usable now.
It is that good. And that's something we need to kind of change in our thought process. And Indomitable Resolve, your Hyperion upgrade, isn't as powerful. Execute does have some value to it, though. Execute at 20 increases attack speed by 20%. Basic attack damage is increased by 25% against targets below 50% health. That's targets. So Battlefield of Eternity, ain't nothing wrong with going Exterminator at 1 to deal increased damage to monsters, minions, mercenaries, all that sort of thing. And then Execute also works on non-heroes. So that can be a great way to increase the job you've already been doing at that point, if you're scared about taking Hyperion. So basically what I'm saying is you got an excuse for Battlefield of Eternity. If you don't play Raynor that often, it's fine to go Hyperion because you have this other option for the map. But if you want to take Raynor anywhere else in this game, you probably need to work on that Raynor's Raiders.
I think that's okay. As as much as controlling the Banshee is still not my favorite thing in this world. It's a nice level 20. It's a nice
scout.
It's a nice level 20. All right, and then I know you also came prepared with some knowledge about Malthael.
Never take Malthael into Brightwing.
Why?
It's pretty simple. Say polymorph. Polymorph.
Why Malthael specifically, though? There's so many heroes where it sucks to be that hero against a polymorphing Brightwing.
There are. The problem is you are going to maybe hopefully get a mark on them, then use a teleport either by a friendly target or an enemy target nearby the thing you're trying to last rites. Either way, what often happens is you go in for a last rites, the range is short, you're going to be polymorphed before you get it off, and your whole point as Malthael is to trade your sweet death body for one of their death bodies.
Okay, and Brightwing is just too large a monkey wrench for that trade.
Yep, then you're not auto-attacking, you're not getting the marks during that time you might use to escape with. Your last rites never goes off, you die, and you've done nothing that Malthael's supposed to.
Just neutralizes him too much. Okay, makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah.
The other thing I'm learning right now, and I can't really share because I don't really know the specifics, I'm learning based on each map we hit, but sometimes hearthing is better than walking. I know as I climb the ranks, one of the big kind of lessons I learned is just never hearth. You could always get another orb. You could always hang out by your healer. That well should have been on better cooldown rotation. But sometimes your bottom lane, curse pops top, and hearthing is actually quicker to get there. So that's a hard rule that I'm trying to break right now, but is very particular for each instance of maps.
So top to bottom or bottom to top, probably hearth.
Right. Or for instance, you are, let's say you lose Alterac Pass and you now have massive waves coming towards your base and you're in the middle of the map. You were fighting over the objective, but ultimately lost. By walking back to the base, you were actually revealing that that's the lane you're going to D because you walk by things. Whereas hearthing leaves it mysterious. So when the heroes on the enemy team move across the map and they haven't decided which one they're going to push with, and they see you, they'll make different decisions. So hearthing actually hides information during that time.
I like that. That's interesting. Okay. Well,
this of course battles with this is where I start to get a little like grumpy because I'm like, wait a minute, but soaking is the most important thing on earth. And they're like, well, you should soak that a couple seconds later because you won't reveal your position. I'm like, well, you told me. Reddit told me.
You read a Reddit?
I read a Reddit.
You read a Reddit, Kyle?
And it was mostly true, but had caveats. I will continue to report my findings into the future.
That's interesting. Yeah, it's like I think you're learning the caveats now. You had the broad strokes, and now it's time to get in and learn the finer details.
Little crunchy bits.
Yeah, it's time to put the finishing touches on your illustration, Kyle. I know you've been arting again, so there you go. There's an analogy for you.
That's something I've been thinking about a lot. We have really bad reference in Heroes of the Storm because it's a full moving game. And so often we see the tanks called out as being bad when actually it's this whole inner working and all these different facets moving together that is tanking for people, and we don't have a front to back comp. We can't kill Diablo in the time that May survives in. That's not a bad tank necessarily. That's a bad draft. That's maybe a Vala who didn't go giant killer for some reason, you know?
It's maybe a deficit from other level deficit from other decisions made over the course of the game.
Right. So one time I had a bad Diablo game and a guy messaged me after and he's like, never play Diablo again. I'm like, haha, yep, rough matchup. He's like, no, I never want to see your Diablo in this rank again. Go watch some videos. And it got me thinking, I'm like, yeah, that is actually a really good suggestion. If I wanted to draw a human hand, I'm not going to wing it. Not just going to sit down and be like, I've got hands, you know, I'm going to at least look at my hand and maybe I'll look up other people's hands so I know what this person's hand's going to look like, right? And then I can't just draw a hand. I got to draw the whole wrist because what if the wrist is twisted in a certain way? That causes skin to bunch at the bottom of my wrist, which is why the elbow is, you know, like you don't just draw an eyeball in isolation on your school desk because that eyeball is great, but the rest of the face sucks. So one thing I'm curious about right now is that we don't have a way to get that good information in a vacuum. If you're trying to learn Diablo and someone tells you go watch some streams, what are you looking for? We did this with Hogger, which is fascinating. It's so unique. We're like, oh, Hogger angles. Like, let's start making some basically farm tracks for Fellbloom or whatever the heck it is right now in World of Warcraft. Let's figure out how to farm this best. We really need something like that. We need this is your Gazlo combo. This is the order you should cast this and that in.
Well, that's that's varying degrees of easy or difficult depending on the hero and their kit. Right? Like the nature of Hog Wild means there's an answer. There is an angle that works, that does exactly what you're trying to do, and you can learn what that is. But then you have Diablo angles, and it's like, well, that's moving because my target's moving.
Right, but there are very useful parts of the maps.
Well, yes. But again, those useful parts are only useful in relationship to another thing that is out of your control, which is the enemy player that you're trying to get against that angle, right? So I would look at Diablo and say that's harder to relay that information than something like Hogger.
I want that level, though, like Deathwing. I've seen these players who use terrain like Battlefield of Eternity. They go and hide in that little box below the Immortal and fire their fire up through it, which seems ridiculous because the dragon's hiding behind a wall, but that's how you play him. It's extremely impactful because no one sees the load up animation. Right.
And those are little tips that are like they're map and hero specific, which are good and fine. But again, it's to me, I think that mileage varies depending on what hero we're talking about.
Very true.
Like what do you give the Ana? Like, because right now my brain goes aim better for the love of God.
Right. Well, and that's also like sometimes our brains only go that far, right? Like that's why I don't play Overwatch because. Yeah.
But maybe there's something there. Maybe I'm moving like an erratic a-hole, and that's why the Ana can't heal me.
Or maybe I'm aiming at small targets and I was supposed to do something else, or maybe I should stop jumping because I played too much Counter-Strike growing up, and jumping's great. Like I'm sure there's people who come to Heroes of the Storm and are like, oh my God, I hate stutter stepping. Oh, I hate melee attacks. I hate body blocks. And I see those exact things when I play shooters.
Gotcha. Well, it's interesting food for thought, right?
Yeah, it's way too big too. Like, you say, hey, herbalists, look at this farming path. And we all go, nice. There are 2 good zones. Thank you very much. And what are you going to do? Go through every single hero and talk about every single map? And, there's a resource dream available there, but there's not the population to perhaps support something like that being made.
Yeah. Or the information might not be as cut and dry as drawing lines on a pre-existing map.
Exactly.
Right. So
anyway, the big side rant there, but this is all. I'm going to continue to report the factual things I can figure out to you all.
Challenges to your belief system that you find enlightening.
Yes.
Well, great. Well, let's enlighten some other folks because we've got some questions about kind of general CC and where it fits into things. So let's move into this week's strategy discussion.
Choose a talent.
Choose a talent.
Talent? That seems generous.
I have a PhD in PvP.
So, Kyle, you and I have been talking about CC a bit and trying to draft it a little more often, and it was working, and we've hit a bit of wall, so on and so forth. But then there was also a big conversation that happened about it in our Discord this past week. We had a listener by the name of Vamos United who wrote in just wanting some kind of like big general guidance in drafting in this game. And it was a really interesting conversation that happened in there. But I know it put your brain in the world of looking for non-tank, non-healer CC options and where they fall.
We are at that Plat 2 barrier on my assassin account. The tanks don't necessarily pick early, which is fine. There's often assassins you have to compete with, and you want to play better than your fellow assassins, right? So you pick early. So we have been on a quest to supply enough CC to win our video game. And I thought we could share this on the show here because there's so many people returning this game, looking at it for the first time, wondering what heroes are kind of like the one you played in League of Legends or Dota. And we're not going to go that deep, of course, but we can talk about just straight kit stuns that will help ensure a kill.
Yeah. So like, okay, yeah. So what you would consider a kit stun is something you just start with the game with it. It's on your ability bar. It's one of those things that you don't need talent into.
And there aren't any caveats, which really, really lowers the number, right? Like Hogger, yes, has a stun, but he's got to hit you into a wall.
Right.
Are you going to now set up your loot hordes to do that? Are you going to be aware of how walls work? Is that you have Yrel? She stuns, but you got to maybe press the button. You got to charge it up. They're going to fly in a certain angle, and it's not based on angle hits. It's based on the swing. Also, I learned something fascinating this week that Yrel, so she does her righteous hammer in a half circle, right?
Yeah.
But in order to make it look good, a true half circle would be sitting inside Yrel. Sort of, she's over the lap. And she swings, hitting her own body area with that swing. It didn't look nice. So what they did was they took that half circle and they put it slightly forward. So it's now out in front of her, leaving these areas to her right and left that are exposed, are not hit by the righteous hammer swing. This means, however, that it's technically wider on the sides. So you can, as Yrel, interrupt an ETC mosh pit if you hit him on the very, very side of your righteous hammer.
That's another one of those very specific tips that you can point out.
It's really weird. I also heard another one this week, too. We're getting a little off track here, but I'm just remembering this stuff. Diablo accelerates when he does Shadow Charge.
So
and
meaning he ends it at a faster speed than he starts it?
Right, exactly. So
Okay.
if you charge somebody and you're close range, you will not reach max Diablo speed, which really doesn't matter in most instances. However, because ETC's mosh pit goes, and you see that little stun refreshing all the time, at max range, you go faster than ETC can stun you. And Diablo can interrupt ETC with a Shadow Charge.
Oh, that is cool.
Yeah, weird stuff like that.
I missed this one. That is neat. That is neat. But let's talk. Let's go through here. Let's get back to kit stun. So, what you're talking about is like these non-situational stuns. Like if it hits, it stuns. That's it. Not an angle. You don't have to pinch him against the wall. None of that stuff. So things like
it's not going to Deathwing split in half and like across the ground and be too hopeful. We're talking like Blaze, Gazlo, Kael'thas, Kerrigan, Butcher, Rexxar, Valeera. Things where you are going to stun them if they stay in the area, if they get hit by you.
Gotcha. Because like all of these can miss. Every single one of them, actually. I guess not Valeera's because she does that little teleporty thing, right? But
yeah.
But everything else, that all can.
Yeah, Butchers, they might cancel early. You might be able to zone. But either way, like this is a very interesting conversation because look how few of those there are. Like true stuns. And when we remove the tanks and supports from this equation, we have no right clicks outside of Butcher and Valeera, which are very unique heroes, which you're not going to draft in every single game.
Yeah, because we're specifically, again, talking non-tank, non-support, non-healer, so Uther's off the menu for this discussion.
Right, and even chat brings up, well, how many of these are melee? Well, that's another pretty big risk you're taking with Blaze, Gazlo, Kerrigan, Butcher, Valeera. Maybe we can count Rexxar because Misha does the stun, but, you know, it's a little less dangerous.
I think that's actually one of the boons of Rexxar is that it's a lot more safe.
And then you've got these super carries like we think of Greymane or Genji, or at least how people like to play them or think of them. And they have 0 CC outside of maybe a body block, if you want to even consider that. So a lot of people coming from League of Legends and Dota are saying, okay, where's my hero of this caliber? And we basically have to answer, well, the designers made it depend. This is actually pretty elegant design, and in fact, that we either have to wait to 10 in order to get a CC, or you just straight up don't get one if you're capable of huge amounts of damage.
Intelligent design.
Yes. When it comes to roots, you're looking at Junkrat, Thrall, and Zool.
On the kit.
2 of those being, yeah. bruisers. Junkrats is rather particular. That's got the little trap going along. And silences are crazy rare. In fact, that's only Alarak, because we're ignoring Stukov in this equation.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Because Sukov's a healer, so we're not talking healers. We're talking...
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. It is only Alarak. Again, on the kit. You know, you could talent into it with an alt on Sylvanas.
And we do have, and there are, of course, caveats here that we're dodging right now, like unique, weird stuns that you might do on like Kel'Thuzad, Kira, that Urel brought up. I'm even going to consider things like Imperius with his delay cast, Hogger, Deathwing. Like, we're talking like you're trying to draft stuns and CC to make your team simpler to pull off.
Gotcha. And so we're learning that like out the gate stuns are on somewhat risky heroes that take a decent amount of finesse or understanding to pull off. Then you've got your unique stuns that are actually, I think most of these are a little less risky, except maybe like Kel'Thuzad.
That's just because it's squishy body.
Right. And then you've got like, I think you know, need to learn a unique moveset with something like Urel.
Yeah. We have terrain abilities as well, like Hogger and Nazebo bring, but those aren't technically the CCs that we're looking for in these equations, and can be confusing, much like our days and knockbacks. Artanis, Diva, Maiev, which is more of a knock chain thing forward, but dazes, Raynor, Hammer, Tychus does with his grenade. These are going to confuse the enemy. Now you put enough of these together and you've got bumper cars going on, the enemy's just going bouncing all over each other. You might have a really good time, but you're not going to make your draft easier.
Yeah, there's
so ultimately,
a burden of execution going on there too.
So this leads us to level 10 and getting to level 10. Things like Hanzo, Kerrigan, Murky, Orfeo, Ragnaros, Thrall, Vala, all get some sort of CC stun that they can do now.
And there's a lot more what I would see as popular heroes in that list.
I agree. But we don't aid them correctly.
What do you mean by aid?
We don't think about, oh, sweet, I have an Orphea. We might win a fight at 10. What are you going to do till then? How do you get to 10? And I feel like that's a big part of the draft that we're missing out on right now. And in particular, for you and I doing our plat thing, one thing we like to do is take early CC so that we get to avoid that situation. We get to say, my team feels like it's winning before 10. And then when we hit 10, things are going to feel even better.
Yeah, and that might seem crazy because I don't think a lot of us think about a lot of our games being lost before then, but if you think about your like worst games, like some of the worst losses you've experienced, you were probably at a level deficit before alts came online.
So how are you going to get you to 10 for that power spike that you need to suddenly have a more structured team fight that you've never practiced up to that point? And I'm aware, Chad, there's a lot of heroes we're not talking about. I'm not going to, I want to keep this moving. I want to keep this moving. Yes, Kira's grappling hook, contact with enemy hero. There's all sorts of weird things like that.
Kira's there. She's under unique stuns.
And that's for her revolving sweep. Does her grappling hook do a mini stun? It might. You know what?
Doesn't it when you reactivate it? No,
when you do the
revolving sweep. Never mind. Sorry.
Yeah, you also have I'm actually testing it right now. Grappling hook launches at them, kicking them for additional damage. I'm going to see if this stuns right now.
the real
like
research.
Just damage.
No, just damage. Okay, no stun.
Damage.
No stun. All right, there you go. So let's just
pull towards them.
Let's keep moving forward.
Yes.
thank you, AZ Jackson in the chat room with the no. It doesn't.
Yes. So what I'm really getting at here is when you're making a decision as to what you're drafting. Like, let's take a perfect example here, Johanna.
Okay. Well, are we talking about tanks now?
Yeah. For this example.
Okay.
You have Condemn, which is rather chaotic. It does stun. It might interrupt something at some point, like a channel.
Yes.
However, how are you going to make your team feel like they're winning until you get to Blessed Shield? If you're even going to take Blessed Shield, oftentimes it is the go-to pick, and it definitely enables snappy decisions to be made by the team. But you haven't practiced up to that point. Meanwhile, enemy Kael'thas has landed gravity laps after gravity laps that has started to build this rapport.
You're proving yourself to your team up to 10. They trust you. They are starting to get in their mind that they need to be able to follow up. Johanna, so not so much the case because you're waiting until 10. Okay, I'm following.
Right. So what I want to add to our equation is not just CC. When we see, let's say, Johanna first picked and we're going, okay, cool, how do we back that up? My gray main needs to play different because I'm not about hero kills. I'm about level 10. I'm about getting Johanna level 10 where we can now have those team fights. So how can I type in the draft and say how we're going to play different? How can I'm going to camp be further informed by my team's need to get to 10 first?
I'm not sure. I have a feeling you have an answer. What do you adjust?
The real way you do it in solo queue.
What was
that?
It's
going to be something like we powerful at 10.
Oh.
And then you do all the camps. Like it's not the most outrageous strategy in the world, but through doing these various tournaments that I'm participating in, one thing is clear, and that is that the draft is way more complex. So by this nebulous conversation, I hope I can unlock for you that next part of your brain that thinks about why you're picking the hero you are. And if you don't pick something that brings a pure CC, like a stun or a root, how are you going to play different? And I'm ignoring slows in this too, because I feel like slows often require unique drafting. You might be thinking about executing talents. You might be just aiming at the thing you slowed and it's not really helping anybody else. Jaina kind of comes to mind there. Like, grats, thank you for the slow, Jaina. I know you're going to use that. What am I going to do with this? To which the Garrosh is, or, you know, the people who love Garrosh are like, well, Jaina's a Garrosh counter because she slows and I can never get in the positions I want. And then the Garrosh will say, well, I can get unstoppable whenever I want. I don't agree with this kind. You know,
you get what sort of a back and forth there. Yeah.
Right. So what sort of factual information can we bring? And that is, we got to get to 10 on a lot of these heroes. When you see a Vala, we're going for 10 first. This needs to be more of our structure and our thought process.
Gotcha. So you're basically, this is boiling down to this conversation about like, how patient do you need to be until alts come online? And do you even need to worry about it? Because are you coming with pure CC out the gate? You could probably take the fight and vice versa. Is that like is that the core of this, of your thoughts right here?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Like if you have CC out the gate, you don't need to be patient. If you don't, and you're waiting until 10, you do.
Right. That's a good way to think of it. Yes, and Jesse was saying patience and HOTS? Like, impossible. It's true, though. And how can you inform with your grain main play that is how we're going to be playing this game?
Can we still have the opening mid-fight, just to see if maybe we just outclass the opponents?
There might be someone sleepy over there playing badly. That's their first time on a hero or whatever. Like, it's always, I think, worth it to just throw in the mid. The lanes clash earliest anyway, so why not participate? But make sure if you're gray main, you get to that lane on time. Don't stick around.
Because you're not bringing crowd control to the party.
And you're not going to inform something that builds over time, that requires trust and whatnot. You got to get your team to 10.
Gotcha. It's a lot of know your role, but also like now we're taking it one larger, which is know your role within the draft.
Exactly.
Within your comp and how that informs your play. That's a good way to put it, man. We're going beyond the it depends. We're trying to find some actionable information here.
And it sucks. It does. Like sometimes absolutely is just a deadlock to learning. Just destroys the brain's ability to put everything in nice little boxes, which our brains want to do.
It's okay, though. It's okay to go beyond that. It's okay to start thinking about broad strokes, broad, general ideas and concepts that are correct in a lot of cases, or in And then in your case, Kyle, you've already kind of learned all that. And the past few weeks, you've been going deeper. You've been learning more very specific micro, not macro strategy.
So how can you call that mid-fight too? And just say it's not going to happen if we don't have CC, right? We got to get to 10. That's more important than this middle fight could be, particularly if you're with a 5-stack. Like, there's no reason for a 5-stack with no CC, no kill potential at level 1 to do that, because we're not going to learn from each other. You're not going to be like, wait a minute, Coffee, you can hit a Kael'thas stun? Well, hot damn. I sure do like that you stun sometimes. Like, no, we already know how Coffee's going to shoot his stuns. We already know how Cavalier Guest is going to make his engage.
There's a lot of things that open up and can be taken off of the question table in a 5-stack. Especially if you've been playing together for a while. So, it makes a lot of sense. Well, rad. Well, this kind of all jumped off of a question that was asked in our Discord by Vamos United. So I think it's as good a time as ever to remind folks that does exist. If you're supporting us on Patreon, you can message us in there. If you are not, write us at itncast@gmail.com, because it does inspire conversations such as what we just had. So keep them coming. Let us know your thoughts, your questions, your concerns, and we will answer them. And Kyle, I think that is going to bring us to the end of this episode.
Sounds good.
2 weeks.
Something to think about.
2 weeks from BlizzcOnline, more or less. So we're going to have an episode next week. And then the week of BlizzConline itself, I think we're going to wait until Friday.
At the very least, we'll see what Saturday's schedule looks like. If there's going to be hero deep dives that are really particular. Otherwise, we'll talk about the main news, and that'll record on a Friday evening.
Yeah. So stand by for that. We don't know exactly what time it's going to be. We're going to kind of treat it like we do when we used to actually go to BlizzCon, which is, I don't know, man, are you free? Am I free? Is there a place to go record? Let's go.
Make it happen.
Follow ITNcast on Twitter. We'll let you know when we're going live. But anyways, we mentioned our Patron Discord. If you want to support us, if you like what we're doing here on Into the Nexus, which I assume you do if you're listening. I mean, I'm sorry if you hate listening, but, that's kind of on you. But if you like us and you want to support us, check out patreon.com/ITN. That's where you can support Kyle and myself here making this podcast. Huge thanks to our Patreon producers, Declan H, Cheesy Bob, Chris K, Mike C, and Sean B. I think I broke the Kyle.
Just someone sitting in their car pissed off as hell, but they queue up the next episode.
I can't stand this
God.
Garrett and Kyle guy. They're the pits.
Maybe next one will make me more angry.
They don't remember how to spell Maiev. Catch us live Thursdays, twitch.tv/amovetv. Follow the channel, follow ITNcast on Twitter to know when we're going live. But Kyle, dude, you do more than just this show. Where can people find you?
You can find me over at kylefergusson.com for everything I do. But this weekend, you can find me streaming, which is a rarity on a Saturday for me. I will be streaming my participation in the Cupid Coliseum, which is run by NGS. So the team featuring Kai Berries, Mockery, Porky, and Coffee are all going to be battling in a 3-round tournament. And you can catch that from 11 a.m. Pacific time Saturday all the way until probably about 5 p.m. Pacific time Saturday.
Good luck.
Twitch.tv/Kyle Fergusson.
That's a time. That's some hours.
Oh, it's gonna be a gauntlet. Yeah, not absurd. Like, we're not talking like, MLG weekend levels of like wear and tear on my fragile body, but it'll be a bit of an endurance test, and I'm excited to see how it goes.
Sick, man. Well, good luck. Good luck. I wish you luck. And folks, I'm Garrett Art on Twitter. You can follow me on there, and amove.tv for everything else. You want to hear about Hearthstone? You got the Angry Chicken. Go over there. amove.tv. New WoW killer going up soon. And that's going to wrap it up for this episode. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. And until next week, good luck and have fun in your games.
Take care.